Shabbat Shalom, brothers and sisters. Well, we've gotten quite a bit of rain in the last couple of days. As you could see, all that water flowing through the creek. The other one over here looks pretty much the same way. The whole property is one big sponge. The water standing everywhere. And, while it can be frustrating to have that much water all over the place, especially when you're homesteading like this, because everything is filled with mud and water everywhere, and it's soaky and sloppy. There's a good side to it. There's something that is exciting about it. I noticed this morning looking out across the pasture and noticed how green the grass has become already. With the past snow that we had a few weeks ago and the record cold temperatures, everything died off. I mean, it was just brown as can be, and we're already seeing green starting to grow. And as much as there's that negative to all this rain, these creeks flowing like that, they're getting cleaned out and filled up, and all the water around here, the lakes and stuff, are getting filled up, and the ground is getting saturated with water so that it's getting ready for planting. And so as much as rain can be extremely destructive, the most destructive force, the flooding on this planet, it's also a sign of regrowth, new growth, a new beginning. And so I wanted to talk about that today, because just a few weeks ago, everything just seemed dead. It was just kind of frozen in time, literally frozen in time. And then now all of a sudden it's starting to grow again, and the waters are flowing, and it's a beautiful sign. I want to go to Joel chapter 2, verse 21. It says, "Fear not, O land, be glad and rejoice, for the Lord will do great things. Be not afraid, ye beasts of the field, for the pastures of the wilderness do spring. For the tree beareth her fruit, the fig tree, and the vine do yield their strength. Be glad then, ye children of Zion, and rejoice in the Lord your God, for he hath given you the former rain moderately, and he will cause to come down on you the rain, the former rain, and the latter rain in the first month. And the floors shall be full of wheat, and the vats shall overflow with wine and oil. And I will restore to you the years that the locust had eaten, the cankerworm and the caterpillar and the palmer worm, my great army which I send amongst you. And ye shall eat plenty and be satiated, and praise the name of the Lord your God, that hath dealt wondrously with you, and my people shall never be ashamed." There's a physical and a spiritual, I believe, teaching here. Obviously, the physical is what I was saying, that is, when everything in the wintertime, and for those of you that homestead and farm, you know this, it hits that point where everything just looks dead, and it's dry, and it's just, there's no life left in your farm. And then all of a sudden it starts raining, and we go through this flooding period with heavy rainy season, but we know what that's bringing. We know that that's bringing life back to our farm, and so we welcome it, even though it gets muddy, even though you get tired of, especially when it rains for days and there's hardly any sun for days. You get tired of the wet and the dampness all the time, but you welcome it because you know what it's bringing. It's bringing new life. And while I'm not saying that this particular scripture in Joel is referring to the world that we live in right now and the time that we live in right now, I do think that there's a deep connection there. We have lived in a world that is dark and dying. It's dry, it's parched. There's no life left in it. It's wickedness. There's no morality. Sin is just rampant in our world, in almost every corner, all the way from Hollywood to Washington, D.C., and even in our churches. And it's like that locust that's just eating it up. But maybe this darkness that's come upon us, this fear and the turmoil that we are going through right now is leading us to a sort of spiritual revival. In the last days, I think that it will come. I believe that we're promised of a spiritual revival of His people. And that is that rain pouring out, and it's going to bring new life to us. It's not going to necessarily take care of all the problems here on this earth, because this earth is temporary. This place that we're at right now, it's temporary. And we know that it will come to an end, and we will be in a new place. So it's not so much that we're holding on to the physicalness here on this earth, but we're welcoming the storm and the rain and the pouring out. We know that rain can be dangerous. We know it can be scary. It could flood. It brings in a little bit of a messiness, but it also brings in new growth, and it brings life. And I believe, and I've said this for a while, all this stuff that we're going through in this world, this wickedness that's becoming more and more rampant, the sin, I believe we're setting ourselves up for a spiritual revival. And it has to start in our hearts individually, you and our hearts. And then we bring it into our home and our families, and we revive. And that's what when we speak of revival, that's what that means. We revive that spirit. It's been there. We bring it back to life in our home, and maybe we've been focused so much on all the earthly, physical aspects of all this that's happening right now over the last year or two, and we need to kind of take some time to focus our minds and our hearts and our families' minds and hearts on the spiritual of what's going on, and the opportunity there to draw closer to the Father, because that's what He wants. That's what He wants. He's aware of what's happening. He's aware of what's going on this planet, and He wants us to turn to Him. He wants us to seek Him, and if we do that, then He will bring that new life, that to satiate us, to satisfy us, to fill us with the new growth, the new wheat, the new livestock. Those are all symbolic to filling us, to taking care of us, to satisfying us, filling our bellies, our spiritual bellies. But we have to welcome that rain, and that rain is Him. It's His Spirit. We have to welcome that, and see that this is a time not for fear, not for worrying about the final destruction of our way of life, even though it could be that. This is a time to really rejoice in Him, and rejoice in His pouring out on us, and know that our time is ever growing nearer to one day be in His presence. So as this creek is filling with water, and there's more rain on the way tonight, and as some of you are either going through the birthing pangs of spring, or will soon, where your areas start filling with pouring rain and muddiness on your farm, look at it as also how our lives and our spiritual lives are. That we go through that dark period, that dry spell, and then His Spirit pours out on us and fills us up, and it's kind of muddy there for a bit. It's kind of a little sloppy. It's different, right? Getting back on track and refocusing our hearts. But we know that the end result is new growth, and it's just springing forward as life leaps forward because of that pouring out of His Spirit. All right, folks, hope that helps you at least some point in this week. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.